All right, there we are live on YouTube and turning this mic over to you all, Doug, Lori, Mickey, and everyone else who's joining us for
All
Robert
right,
and
there we
Deb.
are live on YouTube and
And
turning this mic over to you all,
there you go.
Doug, Lori,
The mic is
Mickey.
yours.
Okay. Good morning. I don't see Sharon in the room. This is Lori. Good morning, Bob and Deb and let's see, Lynn. Lynn, I'm glad you're breathing better. That's wonderful. And Mickey, I love your new picture. That's real. You look so bright and happy and shiny. And Deb and Karen. Good morning, Karen. It's Thankful Thursday. Yes, Thankful Thursday is always wonderful. And today's lesson is lesson 247. Without forgiveness, I will still be blind. As long as hatred or judgment is in my heart, I will not see. Christ's vision has been veiled, and I am blind to the truth. Don't we know it? And just even one little speck of judgment, one little speck, and you're blind. And there's Sharon. Good morning, Sharon. So, paragraph 1, lines 1 and 2 read,
Good morning.
Sin, good morning. Sin is the symbol of attack. Behold it anywhere, and I will suffer. And Ken says, here the I refers to us and not Jesus. If I see sin anywhere, I will suffer. And then our next lesson, lesson 248, whatever suffers is not part of me. And that's what I love about the course because it tells us we don't have to suffer. And in fact, we do not suffer. Whereas many spiritual paths that I've read and studied, and even non dual paths, say that, well, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, which I think is a bunch of BS.
I can't hear. Is Lori talking?
No,
No? Okay.
no.
Lori just stopped talking, that's all.
Okay. I thought it was my computer.
It got frozen. Let's see. Oh, you know what? It says my internet connection is unstable. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay. Were you not hearing me before, Dev?
wasn't hearing for 1 minute.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully that will shift. This is interesting because I was just out of town for a week and that internet connection kept going out. So I'm home, back home, and that usually does not happen. So if it happens again, speak up and Sharon, you can take the mic. Okay. Paragraph 1, lines 3 and 4 say, for forgiveness is the only means whereby Christ's vision comes to me. Let me accept what his sight shows me as the simple truth, and I am healed completely. And I've been asking for Christ's vision all the time. And I wake up in the morning, what amazing, wonderful, incredible shifts in perception will happen today? And another way of saying that would be, what aspects of Christ's vision will be revealed to me today that I didn't see before? And that's always so much fun. And who was it that was saying about a treasure hunt? Oh yeah, Steve. Last last week, Steve, who comes on the Monday night A Course of Love meeting with Glenn Hoveman, talked about every day is a treasure hunt. I love treasure hunts. Don't we all? They're so much fun. Like Easter egg hunts. It's like, wow, I wonder what I'm gonna experience in the treasure hunt today. I wonder what forgiveness is going to come today. And I'll say that too. I wonder what ego attachment is going to fall away today, which is the same thing as saying, how will I forgive today? And it's like, whoa, I didn't even know that that ego attachment was still there. And Ken says, I pray to myself to choose Jesus's eyes through which to see. I do not deny my sight that you may be attacking me or others, or that your body is wasting away with a disease. Yet through forgiveness, I give a different interpretation to what my eyes, have seen. And he quotes chapter 17 here. By your own forgiveness, you are free to see. Yet what you see is only what you made, with the blessing of your forgiveness on it. And that part, what you see is only what you made. The more I go with that and just keep remembering, oh, yes, there is no objective world out there. There is no objective world out there. Everything is what you've made up. And all of the sages and all of the spiritual paths, well, the non-dual ones, will say that just like chapter 21, projection makes perception. There is there, we think there's an objective world out there and we don't, and there isn't. And it's like, what? We wake up every morning and the sun comes up. We have our home, and that home is there the next morning we wake up. So what? How do you mean there's no objective world out there? All I can say is that when I forgive and I use Christ's vision, and I know that I am not this body, and this body doesn't define me. Um, Everything changes. Things are happy. I'm just happy, and things shift. So it works. It works. And then Lynn, you just wrote something in the chat here. Yesterday's lesson was great for Christ's vision. To love my Father is to love his Son. Let me not think that I can find the way to God if I have hatred in my heart. Let me not try to hurt God's Son and think that I can know his Father or myself. Let me not fail to recognize myself and still believe that my awareness can contain my Father, or my mind conceive of all the love my Father has for me and all the love which I return to him. Thanks for putting that up there. And so anyway, if I have any hatred, and that would go for also things that I do see in the world. If I see a war or trash or, poverty or things that I don't like those. It's okay. It's okay for the ego not to like them, but to still remember that it's a projection of the mind that thinks it's separate. And then you can have compassion. And what I'm finding is that the more that I stay with, I am no one and everything. I am nothing and everything. I am no one and everyone. I am nothing and everything, and away from the personal self. And I think we all find this. The more we stay away from the personal self and the more we forgive our illusions, the more compassion we have for the seeming world out there, the world of pain, the world of death, the world of separation and suffering, rather than hatred. Because I have had so much, as you know, so much hatred for what I thought was the world out there. And taking it back and forgiving has been, the way I see, the way I am filled with love and compassion. And I didn't say good morning to Sally. Good morning, Sally. So with that,
Good morning.
good morning. I'm going to turn this mic over to Sharon.
That was okay. Yeah, Lord, that was beautiful. Perfect. What's my power here? It's my attention. Where is my attention? It's like a magnifying glass. If I put my attention on form, I'm going to see sin, because sin is separation. If I put my attention on the changelessness, then I'm in peace. And that's the choice I have in every moment. And sometimes my ego thoughts slip in, and of course, when they slip in, there's a judgment, because the ego only has one thing to do, and that's to judge. It's a total dream of judgment, like as if we even know. There's nothing to know. This is emptiness. Emptiness, stillness, it's all God. And forgiveness is a reflection of God, of love. See, when we look at forgiveness, we don't judge because we can't judge. You know, to think that I even know what someone's atonement path is also a problem, because I'm believing they need me, a me that doesn't have anything to do with the other being, because I can only see my own consciousness always. I can't see anything else. So putting my attention on changelessness is my only job. And when I look at the fact that at this moment, it's perfection in the light of vision, because vision is something actually that does happen organically. It happened for this mind in 2021, but it didn't mean, it looked like, you know, I had a big shift, but underneath it was like a Pandora's box of all the goodies that the ego saves, right? But the goodies are always about me. They're judgments. They're not about my brother. I can't hate anyone. I can only love when I love myself as Christ, and I can only hate when I see the character that I'm playing. Because why do I say hate? Because there's nothing about this dream that has any reality. The only reality it has is love. And that was my full attraction to Course in Miracles when I began the process. However, I have recollection of getting books of Marianne Williamson's Return to Love, and so many books in my 30s. And knowing like Eric Fromm, who, you know, was pretty big on teaching love, I started to read him in like my late 20s, because, you know, the way I see it, make no mistake about it, everybody knows this is not their reality. They just don't know it consciously. But if there's only one sun and we are all one, there can't be anything that doesn't really know, because the knowing is what we are. We are the spirit, right? We have an ability as the one sun to look and judge not, and to look at the beautiful vision that shows up. You know, and sometimes an awakening it's very personal. No one wakes up the same. So no matter what, you know, recently we've been doing Ho'oponopono, you know, release technique, and all of those things work, but they're also individualized the way they're taught, because the concept that we are, each one has a different undoing of the atonement, right? So here's something that she's saying here, Ken. Again, this is our prayer to ourselves, that we would look on people differently. Our responsibility is to be aware of our hatred and anger. And, you know, the hatred and anger doesn't necessarily have, the hatred and anger doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, I'm hating consciously. But if I see a brother as a person, then that is hate, you know. And there's all different words different teachers use, but it's always about the fact that if you see anyone in form as who they are, you can't help but judge. You just can't. They have nice hair, they look pretty. There's nothing wrong with that either, because, you know, judging from the spirit level, we just look at them and know that they are really in costume. It's like a bodysuit we're wearing, but we are walking each other home, and we are all expressions of God. You know, just like Jesus, there's no difference. We are the Christ. We belong to the Christ. This is not our home. This home is one of chaos. You know, and when I look at the laws of chaos, that's where I really get help, because sometimes the fear of not choosing love is so deep within my mind that I can't get to it. And then it comes rising up when I just ask, what would you have me see? Well, it's the fear of judgment. Any judgment is the fear of love, right? So, you know, I always say this is a process. It's a process, and it's a process that as a brother, sister, or whatever, We need to look at all of the kingdom as one and to see totality in everything. This is all interconnected, co-arising. It's just a play. And it can seem like I've been here over 70 years, but we have no idea because it's a virtual reality. So he's saying basically, like, when you forgive, like when you just judge not, you're in forgiveness. The changelessness is forgiveness. So it becomes an experience, and there's a definite like desire from the ego to interrupt this. It'll chime in, it'll do whatever it can. And it's not because it's trying to hurt anybody, it's because it doesn't know. It just doesn't know. It is the child who doesn't know what it is, right? Because it's still talking, and it's like a mechanism of a voice box that goes on and on. But the funny thing is, it's always talking to itself. And then I come in and say, but that's how I feel. Well, I can't feel like that if I'm the infinite self, right? So the practice is to stay true to the being and to know that the being has everything. If you're hungry, and you can't get food, you'll get food. You just have to look around in nature. There's so much abundance here. There's a lot more here than the ego wants to say because it doesn't know. It doesn't know anything. So would I look on everyone today? My brothers are your sons. We're talking to our Father, and our Father is wholeness. Okay? Your fatherhood created them and gave them all to me as part of you, and my own self as well. Today I honor you through them, and thus I hope this day to recognize myself. Again, if I'm serious about awakening from this dream of separation and returning home, I cannot harbor attack thoughts against anyone. And by the way, that does include the person who's attacking others. You're always attacking yourself, right? So if I do it, I attack Christ and continue to crucify God's Son by seeing him in fragments instead of unity. And that's when I see bodies. And there's nothing about a body that's that interesting. We have seen bodies a lot before we started this path. And I continue to see bodies. I'm not going to deny that I don't see people as their bodies, but it's always about my attention. Where is my attention? Where is that magnifying glass? Is it? And it doesn't even need a magnifying glass because it's so bright, the light. The light is everywhere, and the light is all that's here. So this was just a show that we were all putting on, and Shakespeare was correct. All the world is a stage. With that, I'm going to give the mic over to you, Doug. Thank you.
I don't know if I can even find how to get back in. Okay, yeah, that's perfect. All the world's a stage, and we're all actors and actresses on it, forgetting that we're playing a part according to a script. And I got to tell you, my Thankful Thursday started out with I can't even find my Google on my computer. So the fact that I'm even here is a miracle. I guess I'm supposed to be here. I wouldn't be here. I had to improvise to actually get something that allowed me to even be here. And that just shows how miracles work. You don't know how they work. They just work. They just do. So are we on lesson 246 or 247? Because on the
247.
247. Oh, great. I don't know. I see because I saw Lynn put up 246, and I said, "Oh my God, I got the wrong lesson." But I don't know why she put it up, but that's okay. I'm going to put up what Ken Wapnick says about 247. And this is what he says. I always put up his one or two sentence commentary because it kind of gives me a heads up for what I'm about to talk about. And this one happens to be really right on. Uh, 247 is without forgiveness, I will still be blind. And that's true because I'll still think that the world is real instead of a stage. And I'll think that I'm real instead of an actor on that stage for sure. So he says in his very short commentary on this lesson, he says, I realize that your attack or sickness is a dream that I have chosen along with you. Funniest thing is, I had an experience this morning, which I'm going to talk about, which perfectly aligns with that first sentence. Uh, Let me continue his commentary. In my right mind, I no longer support it, which reminds you that you can make the same choice for freedom that I have. Thus, we are healed together and as one. Woo! You know, if you really contemplate that, you really have the whole course. No, really, no kidding. Let's see, this is what happened this morning. If you want to take a look at what happened on the stage. Some of you know I send money to people in the Philippines, and last night somebody said, "Oh, you're going to send me some money?" I said, "I'll send you 1,000 pesos," which in American money is $20. It sounds like a lot, but a thousand pesos is probably for the average person in the Philippines a couple of weeks' salary, and it could feed a family of four for 3-4 days. So it's I know those comparisons don't seem to add up, but somehow it does. Uh, so getting back to the example, this morning I received a message. I didn't get the 1,000 pesos. I said, well, then you have to contact GCash, which is a Filipino organization that is in charge of all money being transferred from one person to another, including international funds that come from any other country to the Philippines. And I send it through a subsidiary of PayPal, and once they send it to GCash in the Philippines, they have no control of it anymore because it's like they've handed it over, and you can't ask for your money back. It's now in the hands of GCash. So I said, well, you are responsible now to call up GCash and ask them where your money is. Now, what she said is that her device, which is called a GCash device, ran out of electricity with drains, and that's why the money didn't come through. I said, well, you know, GCash has your money. She says, oh, you mean it's my fault? No, in the Philippines, that's one of their favorite backup lines. You're blaming me? It's my fault? I said, I never use the word fault. I said, you're responsible for calling. He said, well, I can't call because I don't have the money to put into my phone to call them. You know, they call that either load or data. To put in my phone to call GCash to say, can you please send my money? Because GCash does have the money. And she has a receipt number, which I sent, a receipt number, and all I do is give them the receipt number, and they find your money and they send it to you. But they have the money. Says, my fault? I said, I never used the word fault. I said, yeah, you're responsible. And then she started telling me how desperately she needs the money for food. I need money. You don't understand. I am not this person that you think I am. So, looking at what Ken Wapnick said, it seemed like that's exactly what I did. I did no longer support the sickness. It says, I realize that your attack or your sickness. Sickness is I'm identifying with this poor, wretched person that that has no ability to do anything, and I don't want to be responsible. And you're blaming me. No, I never said that. Uh, but I, in my right mind, I no longer support your weakness. Now, recently we were talking about how uh, that as a son of God, you're powerful beyond measure, as Marianne Williamson likes to say, and she got it from the line that I like to use all the time in this room from text chapter 21, section 7, called "Your Last Unanswered Question." The last unanswered question, and starts off like this: Do you not see? Jesus is kind of tongue in cheek laughing. Do you not see that all of your misery comes from your strange belief lie that you, the Holy Son of God, is powerless? He's telling you that all your pain and suffering comes from this insanity that I'm not responsible. I have nothing to do with anything. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen to me. I'm broke. No food. So, you know, Dove used to. Oh, I'll send you money for for it's it's what they call load or data. I'll send you money so you can then call. So I have to send through somebody else to get to them because I can't send to them because the thing doesn't work. So I got to find a second person to in the Philippines to send them locally, which you can do locally, and then or the second person loads up for the first person. In other words, they actually buy the load for that phone so they can finally have a phone that works to call GCash. Now, that's my ego doing that. My ego said, don't worry, I'll solve the problem for you. No, that's not the problem. The problem is that you believe in the illusion, dummy. You gotta laugh. I don't know. That's my share.
Okay. Oh, Karen go ahead, Karen.
Thanks, Dove. Good for you, Dove. Good for you. That was great. Um, Thank you, Lori, for what you shared. And I love that you pointed out that, what you see is only what you made. And it is so helpful to remember that our thoughts are images we have made. Thought creates form on some level. I am making all of this up, the entire story, the entire dream. And I love what Sharon shared about where am I putting my attention? Am I putting my attention on the changelessness of the truth of who I am, or this changing body? And it is a process. It is a process, and the process never ends. For me, I'm going to speak for myself. The process never ends, but I would say that would be for all of us. And I love what Dove posted, what Ken said, and I'm going to reread it because it's really helpful for me right now. I realize your attack or sickness is a dream I have chosen along with you. In my right mind, I no longer support it, which reminds you that you can make the same choice for freedom I have. Thus, are we healed together and as one? And this could be used for anything. Even for me right now, it's this physical stuff that I'm going through that I'm really really been challenged with the last few days. And I'm going to try to hold my composure. Um, but, and I'm saying and I should say, and since I've gotten this spine surgery, my body has not really accustomed very well to this cage. And so many physical health problems are happening as a result. And it has been the biggest challenge of my life to choose to be in the right mind and to choose to see things differently. And I'm doing it all day, every day. What came to me in the course, it's the guiltless son of God, the first paragraph, where he tells us that for much as the ego wants to retain guilt, you find it intolerable. And the you he's talking about is the decision-making mind. Since guilt stands in the way of your remembering God, whose pull is so strong that you cannot resist it. On this issue, then, the deepest split of all occurs. For if you are to retain guilt as the ego insists, you cannot be you. And he is referring to the you that is the decision making mind, that the power of decision is given over to the ego because when I believe in the ego's story, then I'm becoming mindless and thinking it's real and that I don't have another choice because I already made it real. And it's been like a seesaw, like Ken says, it's like a seesaw. We go up and we go down. And this right here, this lesson and all of you sharing has helped me so much to just go back to the truth because I already know the truth. It's not a matter of knowing, it's a matter of just practicing it when you're in the thick of it. And when you're in the thick of it, it can be very, and I don't deny what I'm feeling or what I'm experiencing. That's one thing that I've learned in this course. It's going through it, it's a process, but not to stay there and to get out of that shithole, for a lack of a better word. So I'm getting out of the shithole. Thank you.
Mickey, go ahead.
Thank you, Karen, for what you just said. That's You are so brave and you are so beautiful. And it's even if we're not having physical or mental or emotional challenges right this second, we have to remember that this is a process. And one thing that struck me the other day, can't remember if it was a video that I was watching by myself or we watched together of Dr. Hugh Lin. Um, and no matter what we call it, he calls it cleaning. Some of us call it clearing. Some of us call it releasing. Whatever that process is, or whatever it's all the same process. We just call it different things. And somebody in the class that Dr. Hugh Lim was teaching asked him, so when do you do this? When do you say those four statements or whatever method he was using? And he said, constantly, all the time. And it's not like this is a one and done kind of thing. And this is someone who most of the world considered completely clear. Dr. Hugh Lin, you know, completely healed a bunch of violent, criminally insane people. And we think, oh, this is a reincarnation of Christ. walking around the earth. He performed miracles. And and even he said constantly, I do this practice constantly. It's not like we reach some state of nirvana and we never have to clear our minds again. We never have to, we would just ascend out of our bodies if we never had to do any of that again. We're constantly doing this stuff, and we think that if, oh my God, I fell down into a depression last week. I've failed. I have to start all over again. We have judgments on ourselves. It's laughable how how much we think, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be done. And that's not the way it works. And we really need to understand what Karen was talking about. It's a process, and it just keeps going, and we just, hopefully we have peace throughout it all. So yeah, that just really moved me, what you said, Karen. Thanks.
Thanks, Mickey. Um, yeah, Karen, I know you have to leave in a couple minutes. I just, it's so, I just don't know how you do it. And you stay so positive. I probably would have quit this course a long time ago. I would have said, F this, screw this, I hate this doesn't work, oh, good morning, Cher. Um, and so my hat's off to you. You always come back to healing the mind. And as I've said many times, I think physical problems are the biggest, the hardest thing for us to get over, because the body compels attention. It just compels attention. And I get crazy with a little headache. I don't know how you do this with your spine surgery and all of that pain that you're having, because I noticed yesterday, oh yeah, yesterday I had this pain in my arm, and it was a sharp stinging pain. And there was a little panic, like, how do I get rid of this? Oh, this is awful. This is terrible. I can't stand this. And I was thinking how it was just this little, it was like a little, I think I got stung by something or bit by something. And it was minor. It was just minor. But I was like, oh, how do I get rid of this? And thinking, I've got this whole body and this whole world that's okay, things are going fine, but this one little point on my arm is just compelling my attention. And that's what this whole world is. It's a million distractions. And like you guys were saying, the process never ends. While we're in a body, it just doesn't seem to end. And I was always very angry about that, thinking, what is this? How come I can't just wake up and be done with this body? And I don't know. I've gotten to this place where I don't know is my mantra. And the Course says the most important thing to know is you don't know. And we don't know. I don't know why the dream seems to continue going on. But like the world, to me, lately I've been using the analogy that it's like a tsunami and we are trying to swim upstream. Oh, bye, Karen. We're trying to swim upstream in this tsunami. And it's like, just you have to just surrender and go with the tsunami and trust that it's going to land you on a shore somewhere. And like Dove was talking this morning about the miracle with Google and getting on, and how miracles seem to happen all the time, that the miracle is what saves our butt. And the constant miracles, that the miracle is right behind everything, every grievance that we have, there's a miracle right behind it. Lesson 78 and lesson 91 say that. And so when I'm upset about something, it's like, okay, I know the miracle is right here and I'm asking for it. And thank you, God, that it is here and that I don't have to prove anything or do anything or do my studies right or meditate the right way, the miracle is here. And Holy Spirit, give it to me. Thank you. Thank you so much. And when you were talking about being able to get on with your Google, Dove, um, it reminded me of Hurricane Sandy. You know, when Hurricane Sandy happened and ACIM Gather was never cut out. And that was right down your street, right down the street from you, Hurricane Sandy. And you can see New York from your porch. And you were fine. I mean, that talk about a miracle, and what you just wrote on the board, Dove, that's the truth. The miracle is right behind everything. And sometimes I feel like we are just being lifted and carried. And it's why I love A Course in Miracles, because Jesus wrote it. And Jesus to me is the premier teacher of all of these teachers that we read, and they're all teaching from their own experience. But to me, Jesus is above them all, because, and I don't mean this to sound as a judgment, it's just something that for me seems apparent. If Ramana Maharshi died of elbow cancer and Nisargadatta Maharaj died of cancer, and people always point to those evolved beings and say, well, they died of cancer. Well, that's what Hinduism teaches. Oh, the body's not important. Let it do that. And A Course in Miracles says, yeah, the body's not important. The body's not real. And you do not have to project your mind stuff onto a body. You don't have to go through that. You just don't. And I remember listening to Stephen Wolinski talking about being with Nisargadatta, and how he would be talking and then go, and then he'd just go right through. and and pointing to that as, oh, it's pain, but it's not suffering, because he doesn't attach to it. But the Course goes one step further. If pain is real, God is not. If God is real, pain is not. And this next lesson, whatever suffers is not part of me. I love this because to me, this is the only safety and security in this world, is that we don't have to suffer. We don't have to accept these things as the body breaking down, as that is something natural and that we are subject to it. The Course says, I am not a victim of the world I see, because I have invented the world I see. I've invented this body. I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. And so, as we face aging and what appears to be the inevitable breakdown of the body with each decade of aging, we don't have to buy into it. We don't have to believe what our eyes see. We can choose again, and we can choose the miracle. And Dove, I think you're just so proof of that, with all the illnesses you've overcome. Just the cancer just disappears twice, and you're fine. You're 85 and you're kicking and doing great. And so we can do this. We can do this, and it is our right. We are entitled to miracles, and we are entitled to know this all the way through. And Sharon, oh my goodness, all the illnesses that just fell away from you, the stroke effects, the chronic fatigue, the fibromyalgia, the severe itching, all of those things that you weren't even trying to fix the illness. You knew you weren't even focused on the illness. You were just saying, I am as God created me. You just kept focusing on healing your mind, and those things disappeared. And Sherry, you've got that heart up there, and that is the truth. When we recognize, oh, I am as God created me. I'm not this body. I'm not this body, and I'm not this history that I think that I have. I was never born from my mom and lived all these years, and only to fade away and decay and die. No, 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 no. That is not who I am. What I am is the one self. And when you breathe into that, I am, and I am that, everything, life, all life without death life without opposite. That is what we are. So with that, I'm going to turn this back over to you, Sharon.
Thanks, Laura.
I just wanted to jump in for a second. We're going to have a surprise visitor. Enough said. Back over to you, Sharon.
Okay, the surprise visitor. Okay. Is anything really a surprise here? Really? Anything? Every time the person thinks that this is a surprise, there's always a knowing that knows what's going to come. Not necessarily in form, but it's all the same. It's all about forgiveness. It's all about love. And, it's funny, having true compassion when Karen was expressing, that's the way to see her in my personal mind, which doesn't really exist because it's not personal. It seemingly looks personal, but it's the one mind dreaming. So holding her in the oneness is what, is what I need to do. But in the level of form, I find empathy necessary. And I mean human empathy, because it seems some seeming beings out there don't have human empathy. And, I understand what Ken says, but Ken is always, when he's teaching about true compassion, he's teaching about level 1, not 2. He's talking about pure perfection. And the common sense that we all have is that we could never usurp wholeness, right? We could never, ever, usurp the power, the only power. The only power that's here is God. I mean, I knew this before I got to the course just by doing a 12-step program. Within like maybe a couple months, I was right side up again. And yes, there's a lot that has to be undone. And, I appreciate what you said, Lori, because I had a lot of pain. And I actually have a urinary tract infection now. And we are going away tomorrow to Rehoboth Beach. And we were going to cancel, but I said, let's just see. And, I did have to get an antibiotic, which I was putting off. And I'm feeling almost all better. And so when it comes to magic, do you really think that God wouldn't be a part of that too? I mean, if we're breathing, this is God's breath. So all the magic in the world is accepted, whatever works for that particular being. And when it comes to the process of undoing, it is so personal. But the empathy I have for Karen in the human level is that she has a very hard classroom right now. I had an intense pain, and I know that Lori might remember it more than anyone else, but there was, when I had that stroke, I couldn't walk, and then I had the fibro, and I had all of it. But I mean, the passion that I have for the course is not done by Sharon, it's done by the one, because it's moving us, thinking of a virtual reality. It's nothing but a computer. So when I stay in this, it's because not necessarily Sharon's decision, it's the higher self's decision, because that's what's moving everything, the stars. And we are the universe. We all have our own universe. And it's very sacred when we see it from the eyes of love. So, the lesson tomorrow is whatever suffers is not part of me. And I want to teach myself this right now, because the thing that I hear when I hear Karen share is the higher self, because she has the maybe the seeming separateness come out with like a voice of maybe pain or whatever, but it's this darling voice that's just saying, I know who I am. I know who I am. And all of this will be gone. But the miracle happens very, very individualized. It's not something like Ho'oponopono work for you, Lynn, but is it going to work for everyone? I don't think so, because that's not what A Course in Miracles says. It's a very personal curriculum. So when we talk about, I have gone on my own to do the release technique rather than do it in a group. And what I'm finding out is the only relationship I ever really had was with spirit or with the one ego, but it's the one ego. It's not like a separate ego. So usually the attraction that I've always had with people is because they stayed in the right mind. The right mindedness is always here. There's a kindness in our minds because we do slide into right mindedness without knowing it. But what Jesus is saying, this is what Ken wrote about what suffers is not part of me. When you get upset because of someone else's pain, it's only because you have psychologically identified with them. So what he's saying here is that you don't have compassion in the sense where you believe they're really suffering, because the body is. However, on the relative is nothing, and it's nothingness and it's emptiness. But compassion for another human is just such a beautiful signpost to move us towards the truth. Like Tara Brock, I have to say, she's a very soothing teacher. And I would bet that she has reached where she's wanted to be, because her clarity comes soaring through. And she talks about empathy, just human empathy for the beings on this planet that are suffering. And it's not looking down and not thinking they don't have everything, but it's also joining with them and saying, I understand, brother, you're really not that. You really are the Son of God, but I'm going to love you through this. I'll love your body too. Because to not ignore the experiences of the body is not, it's not coming from holiness. It's coming from judgment. Judgment would only say you shouldn't judge when you don't feel good. Of course you're going to judge. It's just unless you have no ego left. And I would hardly think anyone would be on this venue if they had no ego, right? Because I would think, now I don't know. And that's the whole point here. I think I know something and I don't. So he's saying when you are mourning the death of a loved one, it is because you believe something in you has died, as Freud explained in his brilliant paper, Mourning and Melancholia. Now, a lot of beings want to be just like Ken. That is not my goal here. Ken had an intellect. And he's not better than me at all, but he was a scholar. He knows everything about Freud, everything about every musical thing. And he's the best teacher for me because I learned through him. But the thing about, and using Jesus as the one son that really went all the way, I would say there's so many that have, because we don't want to make anyone special. It's just the very specialness that gets interferes with, with, at least for me, it was my progress. I was busy looking outside myself, believing that there were certain teachers that knew so much more than me, and until I realized that I want only equality, there's no one, and I never at this point find fault with what anybody believes, because it's all an undoing process. And I wanted to be treated my brother as I'd like to be treated. So basically, the mourning of the course is normal, but when it turns into depression, melancholy is that old term for depression. It is because mourners believe that the person who died is a part of them. And they're really not, but they are and they're not. They're a memory. That's all we're looking at is memory. But to make it seem as though this is God we're talking about, this is wholeness, this is something that is way beyond any of our knowledge. You can think you know God, but this is a reflection of heaven. So to really be humble is to say, I don't really know what love is. I know that the laws of chaos are true. I can see that. But I also know that the knower knows, right? Reason. Reason is the only part of us that knows that we are safe, whole, and complete. So there's nothing wrong with any kind of thing that we would do. But I often hear, Hugh Lin being, I've been around other people with Hugh Lin, and I think he was great. But you see, that was in his unfolding. That was in his curriculum. And then all of a sudden we're going to do what I always did, which is make somebody an idol. No, you're all equal teachers of God, and you all have the same talent. It's just your curriculum is very individualized. but you sparkle just like every other star, right? So, I feel that today, you don't need to identify with the pain and disown the truth, but you need to know that that person or that being in front of you is you. And so on two levels, we kind of do this with the Christ. And I say the Christ is the one that knows, because you can use any name. There's this song, One Power, that Gloria introduced us to. And it's all about the fact that it's called so many different names. And to make someone special, or to believe that your body's going to perfectly heal, is only coming from the wrong mind. It is not coming from the right mind. The right mind knows you're already whole and complete. And if it's in your curriculum to completely heal, you will. And what happened to me didn't happen by me. It happened through the wholeness. That's why this stuff has fallen away. But I'd never say that it wouldn't come back. And I do feel at this time in my process that judging myself for anything is actually crucifying God, right? Because I'm no different. So we're all the same. But I feel like love is so gentle and is so beautiful. And it's just what we are. And if we want to be called to the reflection of heaven, then just be. That's the simplest thing that we can do here. And if a complaint comes up, so what? So what? If I'm busy looking at my brother for a wrongness, I am looking at myself. I am never looking at anyone but my own mind. So with that, I'm going to turn my mic over to you, Dove, and thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. And ta-da, drum roll, please. Our surprise guest is here. Will you please tell us who you are, Victoria?
Good morning, Dove. Good morning, everyone. Morning, Linny. Morning, Lori. Sharon, I loved hearing you share. I didn't get the backstory because I just came in, but you're so, it resonates so completely in my heart, because the truth is the Christ in us is ordinary. It's the simplest, most ordinary way of being, without fear, without the guilt. And it shows up as simplicity. It shows up as kindness. It shows up as playfulness. It shows up as loving each other and having fun at everything. That's how it shows up. And it is true. Our individualized curriculums, they're perfectly set up, each for us, to awaken more and more fully to the love that we already are, each one. So there's no way to figure it out. That's why all we can do is appreciate each other, love each other, stand beside each other, see the holiness, the love in each other. Don't pay attention to all the lesson plans everyone's going through. Just be grateful that we're all showing up and we find each other in the same space and time. So, Dove, thank you so much for your response. So Dove invited me to make a little announcement, and you are all invited. Now, you're not all invited physically, but that's not necessary, as we all know. But you know that this year is the 50-year anniversary of the course being published. And it's a big year. It's a big celebration. And just as I look around the room, we're kind of the first batch out of the gate of the Course in Miracles. I've been doing it, 43 years? You guys have all been doing it. Dove, probably 50 years. We've all been doing it a long time. And it's our party. Did it work? Is it working? Are we living in it? Are we happy? And so the Foundation for Inner Peace, who has kind of initiated this ongoing year-long party, has set a date for October 18th. And maybe, Lynn, you guys will broadcast it live. And a brother that most of you might know or might not, Alan Ishak, lives in New York City. And they are making Alan's house, his apartment in New York City, the East Coast FIP Center for everything, not just for this one event. So on October 18th, they're going to broadcast a live event, and all over the world. And of course, everyone is invited. For those of you nearby, like Dove and myself and whoever else might be able to come, you are invited to the headquarters, the FIP East Coast headquarters, and to celebrate live. And people like Dove and I'm hopefully Lisa Natoli will be there. I'll be there. I don't know, Lynn, if you can fly up for it, but if you can, you got a bed in my house. And we'll just say a few words here and there. But I want to invite you all October 18th. So if you can come and you're in New York City area, you let me know and we'll get you there. And otherwise, love to see you online. Also, while I'm here next week on Thursday, September 11th, with the foundation, Emily, who I do not know, myself and Tam Morgan are going to speak about perception. Maybe Lynn, you'll broadcast it. I don't know. But that's going to be on their website. And we're going to spend an evening, and everyone is invited to ask questions or share on perception. Is it a mirror or is it a fact? I'm all in for the mirror. I like that it's a mirror. And that as we move from the fear in our minds to trusting and gratitude and the innocence in our mind, that the love of God is what gets reflected through us, as us, and in the world around us. So that's next Thursday, 5 o'clock Eastern time, if you guys are around. But the big time is October 18th. It'll broadcast from 2 to 5 on FIP's website, or however they send that out. And I love you guys. And I love that we have been an extended family all these years, loving each other, doing this stuff wherever we're led to be, bringing the party with us, because this is a party of freedom and celebration, no matter what label you put on it. We're being freed from fear, from feeling like we did some terrible thing, to finding out, thank God it couldn't happen. And we're home together, even here in time, safe in each other's love. So I love you guys, and thank you, thank you, thank you. Come to Jimmy's Namaste if you can. That happens in a little while at 11. And thank you, Lynn. I guess, do you still broadcast that? I don't know. And that's it. Love you guys. Thank you,
I, I,
Deb.
I
Thank you, Lynn.
broadcast the replays. Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
so
you.
good to see you. I'm thinking, how can I get to New York? I'm gonna try. I'm
Oh,
gonna
Lenny,
try.
try. I got a room for you and a bed with your name on it.
All
Okay.
right.
Yep. And stay as long as you like, Lenny.
Oh, honey, I'd come out there forever.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't stand being apart from you, honestly. But physically, always in my heart and mind, always with you.
You
It's
too,
like
Lenny.
we're twin stars. I don't
Yep.
know how
Yeah.
that happened, but
I don't
I'm so
either.
grateful.
Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
Dove.
you
I
all.
love you, Dove.
All right. So
Vicky,
I'm going to go ahead and close out. Yeah, Dove, go ahead.
Vicky, I thought it was going to be up in Boston. If it's
No,
in
no,
New
no.
York,
Right here at Dove's.
if it's in New York, I'll definitely be there
Oh, thank you. Thank
for
you. Thank
sure,
you.
for sure,
Okay.
for sure. Are you kidding?
Oh, good, because you'll be the key speaker. You'll be our
Oh, give me
keynote
a break.
speaker.
No, I don't mean keep speaking, but I'll definitely be there for sure.
Okay. Thank you, Dove. I love you. Thank you.
Love you.
You don't even need to make Dove the key speaker. Once he shows
I
up,
know.
that's it, the end of
Yep.
it. You, Alan, everybody's like, it's Dove.
Alan, Alan's a great guy. I mean,
Oh, I love
Oh,
Alan. Yeah,
yeah.
he's adorable.
I have one other announcement.
Okay.
Lisa Natoli and I are going to be on Maureen's Sunday morning service at 11:30, and also Keith is going to be on John Monday's thing at 12. So this Sunday we have a lot of stuff going on. Lisa and I are going to be speaking on acceptance, trust, and welcome.
Amen.
Outstanding. That's wonderful. Oh my gosh. All right, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and close out. Thank you all so much for Thankful Thursday. It's time for Zelma, and she's going to be doing A Course in Miracles and lots of other good stuff. So I'm going to stop.